All right, guys, welcome back. Boots come in pairs. It's been a couple of weeks. We've been to baseball games. We've watched a lot of baseball games. I feel like we've had an emotional roller coaster with
hmm
these Cubs, but the Cubs season has officially come to a close. Um, I think we should start with did they meet your expectation for this year? I think that's a good starting point.
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. Goal for sure was making the playoffs and seeing where they ended up. I don't think we could have hoped for any more. You got glimpses of what they could be, which is near the top of the food chain earlier. Obviously, some injuries happened and some things got shuffled around. They struggled for a little bit, but ultimately ended up with 92 wins, which is more than the 83 or 84 that they've had the previous two seasons, both seasons. Um, got that first wild card spot, won a very, very tough wild card series against a very good team, and then battled tooth and nail with the best team with the best record in baseball. Took it to the elimination game and just did not have enough to get there. But I honestly could not have been more happy with the way things turned out. Obviously, just seeing how they responded. I thought that they could be in the championship series, and I think they could have given the Dodgers a little bit more of a headache than the Brewers are giving them now. But ultimately, very, very happy with how things turned out. I'm excited to see what the offseason will bring. But I'm just not confident that the front office will do the things they need to do despite the comments that have been made already.
Yeah, and I would say same for me. Like expectation of making the playoffs was met when they clinched the series against the Padres. I couldn't watch the last two games, or I mean, the two games they won. I couldn't watch the ninth inning. I like was just a nervous wreck. Like, what's wrong with you? But I wasn't like if they'd have lost that series, I would have been mad. I really wasn't mad when they lost to the Brewers. I know they were super hyped about like that was their World Series. I keep telling people that around here.
Mm-hmm.
But every game that they had in the divisional round, I just kept people telling people like, "Hey, I'm on bonus baseball." I didn't think they would get to this point of the season. So, yeah, I would say for me too, expectation fully met. I think this roster, we brought Craig in to get the most out of the teams that he's given, right? And I think that can be said of this roster and this pitching staff
Mm-hmm.
and this bullpen, especially. Um,
Yeah.
when they started out the year, if you said 92 wins and a divisional round exit, that would that would have been a plus season for me.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you should always have the goal of winning the World Series. Once you get in there, once they beat the Padres, you're like, oh, they could beat the Brewers, right? And then they
Mm-hmm.
win two at home. You're like, oh my gosh, they're going to win Game 5 and go to the championships. And then you're one step
Right.
away, and then your mind starts to go. But
Right.
yeah, how it went, it was okay. Me and you attended a playoff game. I've never been to a Cubs playoff game, so being able
Right.
to go for Ryan's birthday, we got to see the 9-3 drubbing of Game
Mm.
One. But it was just even to be there in that environment. It was fun for like 5 minutes when
It,
Michael Bush led off.
man,
Um,
it was so loud
mhm.
and so great, and I think you and I both kind of felt the same way after Nico made that error and things kind of unraveled a little bit, and the Brewers got up big. The only thing that sucked about that game, I would say even worse than the loss and getting throttled, was that the air just came out of the
Yep.
stadium. At least if it would have been close, if they would have been more of a battle back, it could have kept the tensions a little bit higher and been a little bit more exciting. But I just felt like after that second inning, when it was 9-1, you just couldn't. There was just no, like, not even the Brewer fans were excited
No.
because they didn't do anything
No.
after that second inning. They did nothing. I think they might have gotten one or two hits for the rest of the game after that. The Cubs actually out hit them, outscored them, but by that time it was far out of reach. So
Yeah.
I mean, playoff baseball is so great, and we got a feeling for how awesome it could be for a very short time. But yeah, I'm sure being at some of those games, especially at Wrigley, when the offense was rocking and the pitchers were dealing, and they were winning those two games. I'm sure it was a great
Yeah.
environment to be in as well.
Game three and Game 5 were probably the two best games just because how close they are. And I was telling people, the outcome isn't really as important to me, but if I'm going to a game, I want every pitch to be important. And Game
Right.
1, that was not the case. You're right. The air got sucked out of that place on both sides because there's nothing, it's 9-1. The Cubs hit a couple solo homers, and it's like, okay, they didn't
Right.
really. Well, here's a good stat for you. The Cubs had 7 at bats in the entire series with runners in scoring position. 7 in the entire series. The Dodgers went 1 for 7 in Game 1 of the CS this week versus the Brewers. In one game, they had 7 opportunities to score runs. So, yeah, the Cubs
Right.
just didn't give themselves a lot. The first inning of
Wow.
all these games was crazy.
Hmm.
If you missed the first 10, 15 minutes, you missed pretty much the whole game. The Cubs scored all their runs in Game 3 in the first inning. They won 4-3.
Right.
The Brewers,
Right.
yeah, scoring 6 in Game 1. 2 3-run homers in Game 2 on both
Hmm.
sides. And that was all the Cubs run again was in the first inning. So to the point where the Brewers use a closer in Game 5 to start the game because they're like, the
Hmm.
first inning is so important that we're going to throw a closer
Right.
out there. But um,
Right.
it's you mentioned, and we won't get it too far into this yet, but I I don't know if the Cubs had enough to challenge the Dodgers either. I know the Brewers are
No.
struggling. They're down in the ninth inning tonight too, to potentially go down 3-0. Neither team it has a fully loaded pitching staff right now, or at least that you trust. You
Right.
you skip over a healthy Shota Imanaga in Game 5 for a bullpen game, and it's just the Dodgers rotation right now is
It's ridiculous.
operating how they thought it would last year when they go, hey,
Right.
we have a $7 billion
Yeah.
pitching staff. Every night they're trotting out a Cy Young Award winner or a candidate.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
Blake Snell has one. Otani has one. I don't know if does Glass now have one. I don't know. Yamamoto's a
No,
contender, but
Otani does not have a Cy Young, but
he's an
he's
MVP.
real
You
good.
know,
Glass now is unbelievable. Yamamoto is unbelievable. Like
yeah.
they have guys like they don't even have to hit. Like they
No,
don't have to hit. They have
and
to
they
score a couple runs,
and they
and
will
that's
though.
it.
Um, but yeah, I don't think the Cubs had the answers on the pitching end for the Dodgers. So it'd be the
No.
similar because the Brewers have now. Freddie Peralta is the only guy who started as an actual starter. The rest of the games in the postseason so far for the Brewers have been openers, which is,
Right.
you know how we feel about the opener. Hate it.
Right.
I hate.
Right.
They're using Ashby. Ashby has started for like 4 games now. A
Hmm.
high leverage lefty. That's very valuable. Is opening
Yeah.
your games.
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
Yeah, and then the Cubs offense too. I just don't know if they would have enough to handle
No,
that either. I
no,
mean, you
very
had that
streaky.
they threw that stat up there between I think it was Swanson, Happ, and PCA in 79 at bats. They struck out 38 times.
Yep.
Like you can't just how many times it's like stringing the hits together, but just can't knock them in. Can't
Yep.
knock them in. Striking out, ineffective offensive play, like a pop out to the second baseman, or just a weak ground ball to the left side of the infield when you have a guy on third base. It's just like couldn't get the job done, and that's just the way it was. The defensive Wizards made a couple of errors that were costly, very uncharacteristic of them. I don't think they would have had enough to beat the Dodgers, but I think they could have given them a better run than the Brewers are giving them now.
It's possible just because of the names. And going to the names a little bit, some of the guys that performed well, I just made a little list. Um, Nico Horner had himself a playoff. He had 13 hits in this playoff. Michael Bush is another guy who excelled in his first playoff. Both these guys, yeah, first playoff appearances for them. Um, Dansby with the glove, other than the one error, he stole that. Mike Schilt commented on him after the
Yeah.
Padres series that he stole the series, and he was phenomenal um,
Hmm.
with the
On
glove.
defense, yeah.
With the glove. And the bullpen, there was a couple solo shots, but there wasn't a single game this postseason that they lost because the bullpen imploded or one guy
Right.
didn't pitch well. So those are some of the guys that performed well. Any comments on any of those guys or further?
Yeah, I mean, Nico, just continuing the fantastic season that he's had. He's definitely going to bring some hardware home for sure. Um, you saw that list of Gold Glove finalists. The Cubs have, I believe, six
Six
players who are on
finalists,
that
yep.
list, and I think at least two or three of them will take something home. Um,
Yeah.
I'd have to believe left center and second base will definitely be strong candidates. And if Brian Hayes was not in the National League, Matt Shaw would definitely be the guy as well. He had such a great season. But yeah, I mean, the bullpen just being phenomenal. And these were all guys, like you were saying, Craig, using who he has, but a lot of guys who had redemption seasons, a lot of older guys, a lot of guys who are going to be really tough to replace. The kind of effectiveness they've had, but they're just older. Kittredge and Pomeranz and Thielbar were terrific.
Yeah.
They were just terrific, terrific pitchers, and they're probably not going to be back next year. They
Well,
might, some of them might retire.
you know
They're
what?
older.
They those three guys you mentioned, Thielbar is going to be 40 years old. Pomeranz is going to be 37,
Yeah,
and you say Keller,
Kittredge.
Kittredge.
Oh, I mean, I didn't even mention
Well,
Keller. Like,
Keller, yeah, but Kittredge too will be 37. Can you expect those guys to
no,
reincarnate this season? I don't
no,
think you can, and that's why we've talked about bullpens being volatile. You gotta find those guys again,
yeah,
and go through the pitch labs and see if you can get that, recreate that, because now the tape's out on these guys, right? Like now they're aware of what they throw. I think even on Pomeranz towards the end, they kind of figured him out. He had a fantastic divisional round, even though he let up a run in game 5. He pitched all 5 games and pitched well. That was the only run he let up, was that solo homer, right? So I they got to recreate that. They got to spend a little money in the bullpen, get a closer,
yeah.
because you can't have Brad Keller did the job, but you
He
can't
did.
have Brad
He's
Keller, who's
not.
never had a save in his life,
He's
closing
not that.
a playoff
No,
game, right? Like,
no, I would for sure. I don't know what his contract looks like, but definitely resign him.
yeah,
I would definitely give him a shot to be in this bullpen moving forward.
yeah,
Um, there are some very, very top end
well,
relievers who have either opt outs in their contract or who are just outright free agents
yeah.
who they should take a look at. But I think they definitely need to spend on a closer for sure.
You think about where they started too this year, right? They started with high leverage guys being Porter Hodge, who just got hurt and couldn't figure it out after that, and Ryan Stressley, who got DFA'd after a huge implosion. But like that's where we started the year, and we ended it with none of your high leverage guys that were there at the start. So volatility even within the season.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it wasn't nothing they did was bad. Even again, Kittredge let up a solo shot, whatever. That's going to happen. You didn't let up the big one. That was more of an indictment on the starting pitching. Um, Underperformers for the Cubs, Ian Happ hitting 100 for the postseason. Brutal. Shota could not keep the ball in the yard. He's let up a total of 24 home runs since the All Star break. Two or three in the postseason. Just he lost his splitter, and that's a tough thing to overcome for him because that was his pitch. But he's an
Mm-hmm.
extreme fly ball pitcher, and when the wind's blowing out at Wrigley or you have a closed roof in Miller Park, that's going to happen. You mentioned Dansby with the bat. You forgive Dansby's bat for his glove, but the bat wasn't there. He was striking out on a slider 13 times. He struck out, and I'm pretty sure it was the same pitch every time, but just could not overcome that. And then PCA was a guy. I think I said a couple weeks ago. I'm like, he could either go two directions, right? He's either going to excel and just blow everybody away, or he's going to come really short. There's really no in between, and he came up really short. He
Mm-hmm.
had one game in the San Diego series where he went 3 for 4. The defense, fortunately, was there, right?
Mm-hmm.
He always brings his glove. He should win. I think it's between him and Nico for the platinum glove, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
so I think there's going to be at least 2 gold gloves on the team, and then one of them for the platinum glove. But they could win the team defensive gold glove as well.
A
I think
hundred
that's in
percent.
play. But I said PCA's glove he always brings to the park, but the bat definitely left a lot to be desired. And he's got to work on that this offseason. He's got to work on laying off that ball that bounces in front of the plate that he's swinging at, and the one that's at his eyeballs. So,
Yeah, and yeah, just learn how to take a walk and know that being on base is just as important as driving in runs. Sometimes you just need to get on base,
walks a
and
double.
I think that'll only benefit him moving forward if he learns how to do that more.
Yep, walks are a double. So there's been a lot swirling around the Cubs and how they need to address and build for next year. Again, exceed expectations, but also now that we have this, one thing Jed Hoyer was talking about today or yesterday was how much fun playoff baseball is at Wrigley. Yeah, it
Yeah,
is, Jed. We'd like to play more of those. So now we get into the portion of the season where it's like, what went wrong? How do we advance the next round? You get guys like Justin Steele back. You get healthy. That's first. And then how do you address essentially, because now officially the Brewers are down 0-3 to the Dodgers. You need to focus on how do you beat the Dodgers, right? You don't, and I said this early in the year. The Brewers were built to win the division. They've been built that way for a long time. They are not built to beat the Dodgers. They are not built to win the World Series. They're built to win the Central. We don't care about the Central. We care about winning. How do you win the World Series? I don't know if that's Jed's goal, but it should be. So we're going to circle back to a question we asked in March when he was a free agent. Do the Cubs win this NLDS with Alex Bregman?
they might. They might.
You didn't get much offensively out of Shaw. You got a couple walks. Alex Bregman is a Gold Glove third baseman, very capable. He would also be a candidate. I know he got hurt for a portion this year, but
Yeah,
we're talking about October Alex Bregman.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
go deeper on this. Do they win the division if they have Alex Bregman for the whole year?
They might. They
Right?
might. Yeah,
I don't know. I think that's a valid point that we've kind of been. Again, it's one thing to develop prospects. It's one thing to allow them to grow. But if you're trying to win right now, I think a guy like
right,
Alex Bregman gives you a better win now window than what Matt Shaw gave you offensively.
right,
And then you don't have to bat Ian Happ fifth. You don't have to bat him third for the wild card round, right?
right.
You know,
Yeah. And that was a big struggle all year was that you just, especially when Tucker was ailing, when he was hurting, when he was out, um, just guys who were hitting in the top half of that order that had no business being up there. And I will even say this about someone who I thought played extremely well, like Carson Kelly should not be hitting 4 or 5 in any lineup that you have.
yep.
And he had a fantastic season, and I love everything that Carson did. But you have to have way more thunder in your lineup, and he needs to be hitting down. Ian Happ should not be hitting in the top 5 in your lineup. He should be hitting 7 or 8 if he's still on your roster. They just, again, we talk about game wreckers being scary, being feared. Like those guys are not feared. Nobody fears them in the lineup, especially at the top. So,
Ian Happ went 3 for 30 in the postseason. Now,
yeah,
2 of them were home runs, and one of them was a 3-run homer. But
which was big.
those other 27 at bats were really bad, and he
Right.
looked lost. He looked like he was searching. I know we're going to get ABS strike zone next year, so we will, some of these bad calls will be eliminated. And I think the umpire actually has been pretty bad this postseason. The balls and strikes have not been very good. I didn't notice too much in the Brewer-Dodger game tonight with the zone being out of whack, but most of the games I've observed, it has not been great. But
Yeah.
that does not correct 3 for 30. That's
No.
not correct the swing and miss. And I don't care that he's a Gold Glove candidate. I feel like we do this every year. We've done this 3 years in a row now, where I think that's just a spot they can improve. And it was a little validated to me this afternoon. I was watching MLB Network, and they were kind of breaking down the Cubs lineup. And they're like, hey, great year. How do they get better? And they're like, do they sign Kyle Tucker? Do they go for Cody Bellinger? Do they do all this stuff, which they could have kept him in house. But Mark DeRosa kind of highlighted, he goes, hey, and I don't think they'll do this because they love Ian Happ. They love his clubhouse presence. But he goes, left field is a real opportunity to improve.
Mm-hmm.
It is. That's semi-validating coming from someone who's watching the whole game.
Right. I would say both corners. And I mean, we're figuring that Tucker is not resigning because he's not. It's a way long shot. So then you got Suzuki and Happ, and Suzuki had a wonderful season, but it's like, again, he was hot and then he was not. And you've seen the incredible things that he can do with the bat. And there's times where he's so locked in. He just didn't do it after July 18th. I mean, he cooled off and he had a streak near the end of the season where he hit a home run, and I think it was 4 straight games or 5 straight games, and you saw glimpses, but like, Seiya is not the right fielder of your future. He's not the number 3 hitter of your future. Like, you need people who can wreck the game. You need a battleship. That's what you need, and Seiya is not that. Screw the back of the baseball card. Great season, but that's not what they need in order to be a champion.
I think, unfortunately, we're in a world, too, where Jed might say Owen Casey is the answer.
Yeah.
And I would love for him to be a part of it if that's what they believe in, but I don't think that's a supplement for going out and getting a bat.
No.
I think he can fill a role like he did this year for a short period of time. Or if he's a player that gets hot at the right time, plug him in. Maybe Ian Happ's having another, mental health break that he takes every year around June or July, and like, all right, Owen Casey's in and he's on fire. Leave him in there, But to have that be the plan from the get-go, I don't like that. I don't like, Ballesteros, is that going to be part of the option? Is Kevin Alcantara going to be part of that? They have too many outfielders that are young, and they don't have enough spots to put them. You're right. They have Suzuki. Is he just the DH? Well, he showed he can kind of still play right field, right? I don't know. It's just there's a lot of directions they can go. However, I would like to see them be aggressive, but they also need pitching.
They need
so if you
heavily address that.
Take that Kyle Tucker money and spread it out, but spend it.
Right.
Don't sit on it. Right.
Yeah, and the tough thing is that the starting pitching market, at least the free agents who they're not opt-out candidates, they're just free agents straight up. There's not a lot of plus talent. You have a 37-year-old Chris Sale. You have a underperforming Dylan Cease. And you have, this would be, I think, incredible if they went after him and gave him some money. I would take Framber Valdez. I would, if he's available. It looks like he's available. I think he's a unrestricted free agent. I think that's where you're in the open market completely. Framber would be a really, really nice lefty, solid innings guy. They need someone of that caliber, because going into this season, you have Tyone, you have hopefully a healthy Steele, you have hopefully a full year of Cade Horton. Shota has a club option, and it looks like they might just cut ties with each other. It's kind of what it seems like.
Shota, let's stop on that for a minute, because Shota has a very interesting option. He has a mutual club and player option. There's like 5 different scenarios for Shota Imanaga. There's a team option that the Cubs could enact, like a 3-year, $30 million deal. There's a arbitration option for like 1 year for $20-something million. There's a player option for like 1 year, $15 million. And then there's also a player option that he just becomes a free agent. So there's like 4 or 5 different scenarios here with Shota Imanaga. And he has been really good for you, though. He's been a really good teammate. He's been a really good clubhouse guy. He had a really bad second half, though.
Yeah.
And he did not have a good postseason. So I think there will be some hesitancy there. But also, you do need to get through the regular season. And I think he is a bargain for what he is and what's available out there. So you can't just let him walk out. What you need to do is get him back. Hopefully he's the same guy that he's been. And then in September, October, you hope that he still has a splitter. That's really all you can do. And you don't have a crystal ball. You don't know who's going to be up or down. But I think even comparing like what the Brewers were running out there, every guy throws 97 plus. And the Cubs had maybe one guy, Palencia threw 101. But everyone else was down to, like Keller threw 96. Pomeranz is throwing 92 to 94 top, like Thielbar throws like 91, like that's kind of the average. You need some young, controllable pitching fireballers.
Fireballers,
That's just the nature of the game right now, and I don't know the farm system well enough to know if those guys are even coming.
Right. The name I've been hearing quite a bit is Jackson Wiggins, who is a nice, intriguing young prospect. I think he might. There's a possibility that he'll be with the team next year at some point. But yeah, I don't really know their arms too well beyond him and Horton. I know they have guys for sure, but yeah, I mean, I don't know how close they are.
Yeah. So yeah, we've kind of hit on this point too. What do you think? It seems like Kyle Tucker's already gone. Seems like he was kind of preparing for it all season. He wasn't answering questions about it, but especially the last couple. Where do you think he goes, and what do you think the chances that he actually re-signs with the Cubs are?
I would say there's probably a 30% chance that he resigns with the Cubs.
You think that high? You think that high?
Yeah, I think 30%. I think they'll be in the running. I think he'll end up on a coast. So he'll either be in LA or a New York team. The Mets are, even though they have Soto, I mean, you could play Tucker in left. You could DH him. They're probably going to be looking to add whoever they do. Steve Cohen likes to spend.
Yeah.
But yeah, I see him there. But there's a lot of bats out there, a lot of nice bats that the Cubs and position players who they could add. I mean, I would not be opposed to a Kyle Schwarber reunion at all. I think that would be quite fun. Instant juice into the lineup. I think that does force Seiya into right field, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but you got to sacrifice a little bit, and the Cubs need some offense. And if their guys can keep the ball on the ground, we know the defense will take care of it. Pete Alonso is another really intriguing bat. I like him.
Where do you put him though?
Right. I mean, I think
you
the
put
DH.
Alonso in right?
No.
Oh.
I think if Pete Alonso's on your team, he's playing DH, or he's a
really
DH,
good
or
first baseman.
I know, but so is Michael Busch, and I don't think you can DH Mike. And then obviously there's like the Bregman thing, but it's just like you got guys in these positions already. And it's like, all right, well, how do you throw off the mojo if you sign some of these guys? Like, but they're not good enough without these guys either. Right. So,
do you think we're overvaluing Michael Busch?
I don't know,
because he's a good first baseman. I don't think he's a finalist for Gold Glove, but he should be. But if you have the opportunity to get a guy like Pete Alonso, who is a really good first baseman, do we let a guy like Michael Busch block him? I don't know.
Definitely not. But it's like you gotta like he is, and not like you're entitled to anything in baseball. Like things just sometimes teams just have to move on from certain guys to pursue something they think is going to be bigger. But I think Michael Busch has done everything that they've asked of him. Like he was just blocked. He was blocked in LA. And this is one of the top prospects in their system. Blocked in LA. Comes to the Cubs, immediate impact, switches positions, like does really well at first base. he has been a really solid plus offensive player. He's not even 30 yet. I think he's 28 or 29. Like he's still a
Yeah.
younger guy.
I don't
Um,
I don't think
but you
personally they
can't.
pursue a guy like Pete Alonso anyways because
They
they're going
probably
to be
won't.
like, hey, we're good at first base, but that's just an interesting concept because we were
And
talking about that a month or so ago.
Pete's not going to be a DH either. Like I
No,
honestly wouldn't be surprised to see Pete in like Boston.
yeah,
Um,
they
that could be interesting.
they
Could you
need a
imagine
first
that?
baseman.
Yeah, that'd be a nice one.
Yeah, because even like when KSS was like healthy, he's still kind of unproven. He hasn't really put together a full season yet.
No,
So
he's always hurt,
if
and
you're
he's a
the
little bit of a different dude too.
yeah, yep,
Pete's a
but
little bit more, but yeah, I mean, I think for sure have to add a couple offensive pieces, and I don't think Tucker's going to be. He's not going to be there. But then
yeah,
rotation and bullpen. The name I like in the bullpen, I like Ryan Helsley. I think that'd be a really nice closer. He's a unrestricted. He's not unrestricted free agent. He's a solid pitcher. A lot of
throws
closer
hard.
experience. He throws hard. He's not old. I think he's only like 31. So he's got a lot of bullets left in the chamber. Yeah, there's just a lot to do. And Jed kind of addressed that, but I just don't know how much he will address it.
Yeah, I think Tucker cost himself some money this year.
Yeah.
But there might be a team that still knows what he's capable of, and because he had a hand fracture, they might give it to him. Um, I think it's much lower. I think it's like more like 5% chance they resign him because he just seemed like he liked it here. But you know what? He's been in a lot of big games. He's been in a
Yeah.
World Series. He knows big games. He knows what he
But
brings
that's
to the
just
table too.
him though. Like he's really like stoic.
Yeah,
He doesn't show a ton of emotion. He's never been like that. He's
yeah,
never been a guy who's shown a ton of emotion or anything like that. So
yeah.
he's kind of hard to read. He's got a good poker face.
Yeah, it would be. I mean, I think it would be a great move to get Kyle Schwarber back because he's just proven that he just is instant slug. Um,
Yeah.
40 plus homers each of the last like 5 seasons, right?
And
Every
they need that. They
everywhere
need
he's
that.
gone,
Yeah.
everyone needs a left-handed power bat. Anyone who says
Right.
they don't need that is lying.
He was
How
there. He was there.
well, that's the crazy
They
part.
threw him out with the trash, with the
Yep.
Tuesday trash.
The it's funny because this upcoming free agent class is all basically Cub reject guys that we've either dumped or gotten rid of in some form. Like Kyle Schwarber, you could have just paid to stay originally. He
Hmm.
wanted to stay. Cody Bellinger, you gave away for a bag of balls because they cut that pitcher like 2 months later. Dylan
Yep.
Cease was a Cub at one point, right? So these are all just
Yep.
former Cubs that were just like, hey, bring him
Right.
home. But of the guys, I would like to see them get Kyle Schwarber. I don't know what kind of number he's going to get and from who, but that feel good. But also, I think he is the best left-handed power bat available.
Hmm.
I think Kyle Tucker was phenomenal this year for what he was doing. He was banged up and the power wasn't necessarily there, but he was still hitting at a very high clip and still super
Right.
productive and had a great start to the season. So, um, but I think Schwarber would provide more damage.
Oh, yeah.
All about inflicting damage, and he would provide the most for sure.
Yes. 100%.
Yep.
That would
Um,
be what if they grabbed Schwarber and like Frammer and then maybe a couple arms. I would feel pretty good going into the season, even if you rolled out. I mean, honestly,
yeah.
they're probably going to have to address catcher too. Um,
Yeah.
I don't I don't see Ballesteros being ready to
No.
handle that full time. I think he'll definitely be on the roster and he'll be one of the options, but you got to go out and get a catcher too, and I
Well,
don't really know who's available.
or do you sit here and go, hey, Miguel Amaya was ready to make that leap,
Yeah, yeah,
and he just had really two unfortunate injuries that kept him out. I mean, literally, the first game back, he hits the base and rolls his whatever and,
right.
has a weird landing on whatever,
I could handle Amaya and Ballesteros. I think that would be a nice little catching duo.
Amaya Ballesteros. And if Carson Kelly's hanging around as a backup catcher, cool with that. But to your point, I agree. Early in the season when their lineup was rolling, Carson Kelly was hitting 8
He was
because Carson Kelly is a career 220 hitter.
right.
And when you're rolling in these playoff games and he's like, oh no, he's the 5th or 6th hitter, it's like,
Right.
that means you're asking too much out of him.
And he was hitting well in the eighth spot. He had a really nice offensive year. He had a career year
He had
offensively.
a career year, but you get to the postseason, all of a sudden it's like, hey, he's not producing. Yeah, because Carson Kelly, is he a Gold Glove finalist?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's because he's a glove first defensive catcher, and he's
right,
really good at it, and he can handle a pitching staff, and he did a great
right.
job behind the dish this year.
He did. He
The
did
bat has
fantastic.
always been a bonus, and
Right.
it was for a
Yeah.
long time in the beginning of the year. But
17 homers and 50 plus RBIs, man. I mean, he
take
was he
that.
was great.
Yeah,
I
I
think he
would.
was about 350 on base too.
Yep.
Like had a really nice season.
Yep, he swings a good bat. I like it, but it's you can't depend on it. And if you
No.
don't get anything out of it, again, it's like Dansby. Like for the World Series Brave team that Dansby was on, he hit ninth. Because he's a defensive first
Yeah.
player.
And he drove in 96 runs.
Sure, yeah, but that's just the Braves scored a lot of runs.
They scored a
Um,
lot.
but yeah, it's the lineup's got. There might be a lot of turnover.
Hmm.
And I think that's why a lot of the guys were super emotional. PCA was very emotional about it, and also just very candid. He knew when things weren't going well, but he's like, yeah, there's going to be change because Justin Turner's not going to be back.
No.
These a lot of these veterans, it's a 1 year deal. He goes, this team was this team, and now next year will be next year's team, and you kind of go through it. But the core should be there. Jed also alluded to that they're going to have some conversations with some guys that he's like, I hope you don't find out that we're having conversations until they've signed the extension. So I'm assuming he's talking about extending PCA, maybe extending Horner,
Yeah.
just these internal extensions for guys that deserve it.
Right. As I think Dansby's the only guy on the roster who's got like a longer term deal. I don't
Yeah,
think anyone
yeah.
else does.
Dancy's got 4 more years, right? So, um, yeah, they have a good start. Again, you made the playoffs. I think that's all you could have asked for. And yeah, you just got to be aggressive. Continue to be aggressive. Continue to make the playoffs because you know what, Jed? You know what also, and I guess Tom, you know what happens when you make the playoffs? Playoff money.
Hmm.
More games for you. You got 5 extra home games this year. You want to make it
Hmm.
11? Go to the World Series. That's a lot of
Right.
revenue. You want to sell some
Five
more
extra
T-shirts?
home games, probably average at least $200 a ticket,
Yep.
40,000 people. That's a lot of money.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, for teams that are still going, the as I announced, I don't think this series goes back to Milwaukee. I don't know if they sweep tomorrow or not, but Dodgers are up 3-0 now on the Brewers. They don't have any pitching either. Ashby started
No.
tonight again. They did a bullpen game. Mizorowski was lights out until he wasn't, until he let up some runs. Um, I don't think Freddie Peralta is their only pitcher right now.
And his ERA
Anyways,
is almost 5
yep.
in the playoffs.
They're going to go into Game 4 tomorrow against Otani if he even pitches. Um, Yikes! Don't like that one. And then you have the Jays and Mariners. It's 2-1 Mariners. They took both games in Toronto,
Yeah.
just slugged the crap out of them. And then the Blue
Yeah.
Jays last night winning 12-4. And just
And had 18 hits.
yeah, Vladdy's hitting 400 plus in the postseason.
Vlad's hitting 464.
Mm-hmm.
Vladdy has a 1400 OPS.
I was a little worried though about the Blue Jays because they were celebrating pretty hard beating the Yankees, and I've been critical of Brewer fans for having this be their World Series was beating the Cubs. Um, it looked like the first 2 games that the Blue Jays did the same thing. If the World Series was beating the Yankees, did you happen to see Big Poppy and Vladdy post game?
Yeah.
When it's so you have Derek Jeter, you have A-Rod, and you have David Ortiz in the studio with I don't know who the
The
third guy is.
Yankees
The Yankees
lose.
lose, but they did that like 13 times, and Derek is just like not having it at all. He's it's funny, one of the more salty guys, because like A-Rod's very politically correct, he doesn't want to
Yeah.
say the wrong thing. He always wants to be
No.
the analyst, but Derek Jeter has too much Yankee pride in his blood
Yeah.
to say anything negative, or if someone makes a comment towards him, he's like, all right, we're not talking to you anymore. So that whole
Yeah.
time when they're talking to Vladdy Jr., he's just like, nope,
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know. I want nothing to do with
he's
this.
the captain, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, for sure. But like if you're the Blue Jays, like that's a big I think you have the right to celebrate pretty hard. Like that's a big win
That is.
against the pinnacle of baseball. I mean,
Yeah.
you're facing the MVP of the league. You're facing the New York Yankees, who are have the most championships of anyone in the sport.
Yep.
Beating them, doing the things that they did. I mean, it's unbelievable. And Vlad, just doing incredible things on the diamond, and some of the other guys doing incredible things on the diamond. It's just awesome to be able to do that. But I mean, the Mariners are a scrappy bunch, and they have I mean, in my opinion, Kyle Raleigh's the MVP. But
Oh,
you have him.
yeah.
You have him. You got other guys like J Rod and Naylor and Polanco, who are just doing awesome stuff, and the staff and the high leverage relievers. Like Bryce Miller did not have a great year, on the just stuff side of things. He got rocked a little bit after having a really good year last year, but he was phenomenal. He goes out and throws 6 innings of 1-run baseball in game one against this powerful Blue Jay offense.
Yeah.
The pen the pen picked up Logan Gilbert in game two, and the offense exploded. Cal Raleigh's hitting 360, 370 in the playoffs.
Let's go a little bit back to that 15 inning game against Detroit,
Oh man,
where not only do you survive Tarek Skubal's 13 strikeout performance, and someone's like, why did
yeah,
they take him out? Well, I don't know how much more. He wasn't going to go 15 innings, right?
no,
But the Mariners pitched Gilbert, Castillo, who started that game. I mean, they pitched everybody in that game.
Kirby started.
Kirby started. So you pitched all your pitchers in that game. And they
Yeah,
turn around and take the first two against Toronto without 1 day rest. They turn
right.
around
And
on the road.
Bryce Miller is your like emergency starter in that situation.
Yeah.
You're not starting like your guys are Kirby, Castillo, and Gilbert. Like those are the three that you're going with. Like
Yep.
Bryce Miller was an emergency starter for game one, and he went out and twirled a gem. I mean, he's so talented. But yeah, they're a scrappy team, and it's like that. That is the team, and I do like the Blue Jays. I really like both AL teams a lot, but like I've always, for some reason, had a soft spot for the Mariners, and I really
Oh,
hope that they can do something to get there. I think Toronto has a little bit more to take on LA, but Seattle's such a good story, and it's such a they're such a great solid
yeah.
ball club, and they finally broke
Well,
through. And
you have a soft spot for the Mariners because they've never been to a World Series. Who could
yeah,
possibly
but I've
beat the
always liked
Mariners?
the Mariners. Like
No,
I've
but I
always had
mean,
a soft spot for the Mariners.
anyone who's like, man, I just can't stand what the Mariners do. It's like, because you can't say that unless you're an actual Mariners fan. You can't stand that they never win. Like, no, the reason why we don't like the Yankees is because they've won 27 championships. The reason why
Right.
I hate the Cardinals is because they've won 11 championships and they always have the Cubs number, right? I have a newfound hatred for the Brewers because you knock me out of the playoffs and your fans are obnoxious. They don't know what they're
Yeah.
talking about. That's
No.
and I'm literally like, I don't like the Dodgers, but I'm like, I'm doing that little dance they do on it. I'm like, yeah, every time I'm like, do it 10 times more. I don't care. Because you have all my favorite players from my other teams are on your team now, so I might as well,
Mhm.
lean into it. But yeah, the Mariners are. You said Cal Raleigh's MVP. I know they don't include postseason stuff in there, but he is having a heck of a postseason, and he
Mhm.
had an incredible regular season. And yeah, he should. He did something we've never seen out of a catcher, and he made history for the Mariners that includes the history of Ken Griffey Jr. So, you
Mhm.
know, no argument from there with me.
Right. And I mean, again, Aaron Judge is Aaron Judge, but I mean, you take Aaron Judge off the Yankees, I think they still find a way to do the things that they did. I mean, they're the Yankees, they're going to win. I mean, that's the numbers are just astronomical. They're Barry Bonds like, but we've seen it before. Not necessarily from him in that respect, especially with the batting average, but what Raleigh did at the catcher position,
Yes.
we've never seen it.
Switch
And
hitting,
without him,
gold glove caliber catcher
right.
doing what he does.
And without him, the Mariners are not making the playoffs.
No.
They're nowhere close. They're not winning the division. They're not making the playoffs, like none of it. So
I
I
know
know,
last
I know
year's
that they're not going to take that into account. The
no.
writers are not. We all know Judge is going to win,
I don't
but
think
I
so.
think it'll be
I I don't think so. I would be surprised if they gave it to Aaron Judge. Um, I know last year they were doing the Bobby Witt Aaron Judge comparison and like if Bobby Witt played in Yankee Stadium. Well, you know what? Cal Raleigh played in a huge pitcher's park and put up 60 home runs. So
Hmm.
that should count for something.
Right.
And again, it's not all just about home runs, but it's right. The position he played, he's in the lineup when he's not catching, right? Like it's all those things. So yeah, we'll see these awards start to trickle out in the next couple of weeks here, but I would be floored if it was not Cal Raleigh.
Hmm.
The other team that we'll kind of go a little bit further back just for a minute. The Phillies getting knocked out by the Dodgers on that error, which Real
Yeah.
Muto's pointing to first base, but it's more so it's another year that a team like the Phillies doesn't advance to. And I know like the Brewers were kind of hard on their luck for not advancing, but the Phillies not advancing is more concerning because I'm pretty sure that roster is about to get imploded.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Their Realmuto is a free agent. Castellanos is a free agent. Schwarber's a free agent. It sounds like he's leaving.
Yeah.
What did the Phillies do now that they've kind of had a failed run with this window that they had?
Right. And all the players. Honestly, I think I brought this up in our group chat the other day. But like, how many more opportunities is Rob Thompson going to get, the manager?
Mm,
It's not necessarily his fault, but I mean, the manager is usually the guy who falls on the sword, and he's it's kind of like what the Cubs did to Ross in a way, but Thompson won more. So I don't know, and they have some good prospects, but they're not really a prospect driven team. They're like a buy some guys, and you're still going to have Harper, you're still going to have Trey Turner, you're still going to have Bryson Stott, you're still going to have some really nice players, but they're going to have to. I wouldn't be surprised if they spent a little money. They're a winning franchise. They've been winning a lot in the last. I mean, a lot of games at least the past several years. They're definitely going to spend. It'll be interesting to see how they do it.
You know who would fit really well there? It's Kyle Tucker. You swap out
That
Tucker for
right?
Castellanos. That's an
That
upgrade.
could I could see that. I
Yep.
could see it. Well, I did say he'd end up on a coast.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. But it'll be interesting to see what they do because they're not going to roll over, but there is going to be a lot of change with that team. And
mhm.
this was definitely the last time we saw as the Phillies are intact. They kind of have been running it back for the last 3 years, and it
Right.
just didn't work. Did they go to the World Series 3 years ago and
I think
lose?
they were. I think so. Last year they no because no well no last year was the Diamondbacks.
It was
No no
Dodgers
no no
last
no.
year, Diamondbacks year before.
Yeah, so they were
Okay.
not in the World Series. No, the
Yeah.
Diamondbacks took them down 3 years ago.
That's just another team. It's just like what's going on. But yeah, I think it's just again worth addressing. Like
Hmm.
that was a team that goes for it. I'm always for a team that goes for it, and sometimes it just doesn't work out. And
Yeah.
everyone can complain about the Dodgers, but until they actually win, there hasn't been. This is another good one. There hasn't been a repeat World Series winner since the Yankees since in 25 years. So, and this will be a huge CBA point, with the salary cap, and we'll get into that in a little bit, but probably in the next couple weeks when we run out of actual baseball topics to talk about, let's dive into the
Hmm.
nitty gritty of, you know, what's going into the CBA. But like, you can complain all you want about the salary cap. It does not guarantee you, though, that you win just because you buy a team.
Yeah.
And the Phillies are a good proof of that. The Mets are a really good case for that. And the Dodgers have been doing it for a long time, and they've just started to really click, right?
Hmm.
And they're peaking at the right time. And
Yeah.
Kike Hernandez only shows up in October, but here they
Yeah.
are. That guy is my favorite now. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like I used to hate him, but
He's a fun character. I liked. I mean, if you're if you are a Dodger fan or a fan of the team he's on, you love to hate him, and if he's on your team, you just love to love him. I mean, it's kind of the way he is, and I mean he's a grinder. He does a lot of interesting stuff. He has some interesting takes and interesting just
he eats
yeah interesting
popsicles on the
resume.
bench. Interestingly, yeah, all those
He
things.
does. He's an interesting dude, but I mean, yeah, he's been a part of a lot of great things, and there's a reason why they keep bringing him back.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. All right. Well, we'll see how this playoff kind of plays out. Again, my prediction would be not the Brewers, um, but we'll see. Maybe the Mariners can squeak through. I think whoever gets through on the AL side, the Dodgers, as we know, are a tough test, and um, I think all roads kind of go through LA at this point.
They do.
But again, we will continue to analyze, and then after that, postseason and off-season stuff kind of creeps in, and then it should be. We say this every year. It should be hot, but it doesn't always creep out that way, and the Cubs
Right.
are very patient, so it might be another slow burn, but we can definitely analyze and kind of figure out who's in and out.
Yeah.
But all right, well, until next time, Boots Come in Pairs. Take it easy, guys.
Peace.